Today, we are addressing a medical misnomer, skinny jab, a term that has repackaged sophisticated pharmacologic agents into something deceptively simple. The phrase skinny jab circulates widely, implying ease, speed, and cosmetic transformation. Yet when a patient sits across from us, what we are holding in our prescribing hands is not a lifestyle shortcut. It is a class of metabolically active, biologically potent medications that demand rigor, vigilance, and respect. Let us begin by restoring precision to language. These agents are glucagon-like peptide, 1 receptor agonists, designed to act on specific hormonal pathways, regulating appetite, insulin secretion, gastric emptying, and satiety. 3 principal molecules currently define this therapeutic landscape. First, semaglutide, marketed as Wegovy for obesity and Ozempic or Rybelsus for diabetes. The injectable formulation is administered once weekly, a schedule that has significantly improved adherence. Next, tirzepatide, marketed as Zepbound for obesity and Mounjaro for diabetes. Also dosed once weekly, it brings dual agonism, GLP-1 and GIP interplay, offering expanded metabolic effects. Finally, the veteran liraglutide, marketed as Saxenda and Victoza. Unlike its successors, it requires daily subcutaneous administration. That difference, seemingly small, translates into a measurable burden on adherence and long-term persistence. But the medications themselves are only part of the story. The deeper narrative is about chronic disease. According to guidance from the World Health Organization, these agents belong within a multimodal framework. They are not monotherapy. They are adjunct tools that work best when integrated with behavioral therapy, nutritional restructuring, and sustained lifestyle modification. Indication thresholds are deliberate. For weight management, we consider pharmacotherapy at a body mass index, BMI, above 30, or a BMI above 27, when accompanied by weight-related comorbidities such as hypertension, dyslipidemia, or obstructive sleep apnea. The nuance continues when choosing among agents. Semaglutide carries evidence supporting cardiovascular and chronic kidney disease protection. Tirzepatide now holds a specific indication for moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea. In adolescents aged 12 and older, only liraglutide and semaglutide are currently approved. Then comes the phase where clinical optimism meets physiologic reality, dose escalation. The most common reason patients discontinue therapy is gastrointestinal intolerance, the so-called GI price of success. Nausea affects up to 44% of patients on semaglutide and approximately 28% on tirzepatide. The critical window is escalation. Here, our role is protective. We start low and go slow. We allow 4 full weeks for physiologic accommodation before increasing doses. If grade 2 symptoms impair daily functioning or persist beyond 2 weeks, we step back, reduce the dose, or pause therapy. Pushing through toxicity is not perseverance. It is poor stewardship. Pharmacokinetically, these agents delay gastric emptying. That single mechanism has cascading implications. Oral medications, particularly those requiring rapid onset or possessing a narrow therapeutic index, may exhibit altered absorption. Oral contraceptive efficacy can diminish, raising the risk of unintended pregnancy. Standard practice is to separate oral medication administration from GLP-1 RA dosing by at least 1 hour. And when these agents join regimens containing insulin or sulfonylureas, hypoglycemia becomes a foreseeable hazard. We mitigate preemptively. reducing basal insulin doses by 10 to 30% at initiation. Close monitoring is required for drugs like warfarin due to INR variability and SGLT2 inhibitors due to increased risks of dehydration. The efficacy of a patient's entire medication regimen depends on timing. Ensuring that life-critical medications, from antibiotics to contraceptives, remain effective requires a sophisticated approach to the daily pill schedule. There are boundaries we do not cross. Absolute contraindications include personal or family history of medullary thyroid carcinoma or multiple endocrine neoplasia type 2, pregnancy, breastfeeding, type 1 diabetes, and established gastroparesis are firm exclusions. Once therapy begins, vigilance continues. We monitor for pancreatitis, gallbladder disease, and emergent thyroid masses. With semaglutide specifically, a higher reporting frequency of suicidal ideation has been observed. Any new or worsening depression warrants immediate assessment. When we reframe obesity as a chronic, biologically mediated disease rather than a moral failing, these medications become what they truly are: targeted metabolic interventions. They are powerful instruments, neither miracle nor menace, but tools whose success depends on disciplined prescribing, careful titration, and attentive follow-up. In the quiet of the clinic, far from the noise of social media, our responsibility is steady and clear. We do not wield magic. We practice medicine. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.